Today on the news and why it matters, no official winner in Iowa for the Democrats. The AP has declared it so. Also, staggering new polls give some strong indicators on how 2020 elections could possibly go. We've got a lot coming up, and it starts right now. Welcome. Happy Friday. I am Sarah Gonzalez, and today we have got quite a show for you lined up. We've got Pat Gray, Mr. Pat Gray from Pat Gray Unleashed. Thanks for being here. We've got Josh Hammer from the Daily Wire, the Daily Wire's own editor-at-large, Josh Hammer. And we've got Giancarlo Sopo. Giancarlo Sopo, the Blaze.com's own. I can say that about you now. The Blaze.com's own Giancarlo Sopo. Got a lot to get into. First, we would like to thank our sponsor, Candid. And yes, this is the year I am finally straightening my teeth with Candid Clear aligners. And you could be too if you are maybe like me and you had braces and headgear and the whole shebang when you were younger, and then you stopped wearing your retainers. And it turns out your teeth actually shift if you don't keep wearing your retainers. I found that out the hard way. If you did too, I really recommend Candid. They deliver these aligners directly to your door, and they straighten your teeth for 65% less than braces. So they send you the kit, you do the impressions from the comfort of your own home, which is great because you look a little silly when you're doing it and no one has to see. You send it off. They send you the aligners. You never have to set foot in a doctor's office or waiting room, and you're working with licensed orthodontists. So unlike other companies, Candid only works with, like I said, no general dentists. It is just orthodontists that you're getting. 20 years of experience on average, by the way. So let this year be the year that you give yourself the gift of straighter teeth. You can go to candidco.com/Y. If you use promo code Y, you will get $75 off. That is candidco.com/Y, offer code Y. You're already getting it, 65% less than braces, plus we got you $75 off of that. Candidco.com/Y, offer code Y. So the AP has declared officially, after so many days of waiting, that there is no winner. They are unable to declare a winner of Iowa's Democratic caucuses because of irregularities in this year's process and the tight margin between Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders. Now, this comes after the Democrat National Committee Chair Tom Perez has already said, we need to recanvass. We need to go back and count all of the paper trail, everything, because it's too close to call. There are too many questions. We got to start over. Pat, what are your thoughts on this debacle?
I think we've already left this behind, haven't we? We got New Hampshire coming up in a couple of days. We might as well just forget it. Just forget it. Let's just pretend this didn't happen.
Write Iowa off this year.
Yeah. And I mean, nobody's going to really be able to have the bragging rights here because they can both claim victory, sort of.
And they both have.
Bernie is already saying he won the initial vote, and Buttigieg won the one after that. And it's kind of like, I think it was 2012 with Rick Santorum, where we found out a week later, right, that he won when they thought it was, who was it, Romney, or they thought somebody else won.
Yeah.
And it turned out Santorum did. And so he never really got the credit for that. I mean, he never really got any momentum going or anything for that because it was too late.
Yeah.
Well, that's what this is going to be as well, I think, for whoever wins.
Josh, Pat points out, historically, the person who wins does get that momentum going into the New Hampshire voting, and no one's going to have that now. How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, so Nate Silver at 538 had a pretty good column on Tuesday, the night after this total crap show unfolded, where he basically said that even if Iowa does get its you-know-what together, it's inevitably going to be too little, too late. It's already too late because what happens is the boost you get is you go on national television that night and you're able to declare victory. As someone who was very active in the Cruz campaign in 2016, I remember Ted's victory speech in Iowa very well, and he got a bump out of that. It obviously didn't take him all the way, but it did help. So no candidate is going to be able to claim that this year. And I think that there were serious questions about the Iowa caucus process going forward. I mean, I'm actually a longtime defender of it. I happen to like the caucus process. I've participated in it. To me, it kind of embodies all that Alexis de Tocqueville famously loved about America. Everyone kind of getting together and like they're doing their civic duty at a very fundamental level. So it's a much more engaging process than the privacy of a ballot box and just clicking a lever. So I'm a long-time defender of it, but having said that, if the Iowa Democratic Party can literally not tabulate the votes to give us what the party apparatus needs, then I think there are very serious questions about Iowa going forward. So whoever ends up the winner, and perhaps we'll never know, it seems to me quite possible it will be the last winner of an Iowa caucus.
Yeah. What do you think, Giancarlo?
I think what's clear, even if we don't know the winner, the clear loser was Joe Biden, who by all accounts came in a distant fourth place. Talking about the former vice president of the United States coming in pretty low in a state that he should have carried, or at least come in the top two. And we were just talking a little bit earlier that there has never been a nominee of either party who has placed below second place in both Iowa and the Iowa caucus and the New Hampshire primary. So if Joe Biden doesn't get his act together and at least place in the top two next week in New Hampshire, there's really no precedent for him to become the party's nominee.
I mean, how incredible would that be that there's been all this talk about Joe Biden and we could be looking at him dropping out within a week or two?
He's done. I mean, I do a weekly election newsletter for the Daily Wire. It comes out Thursdays. You can subscribe at lp.dailywire.com/getelectionwire. So I said,
kind of long, Josh. Have you considered shortening it?
I'll talk to folks about that.
You gotta buy the new domain or something.
But I mean, in my newsletter yesterday, I basically said, stick a fork in Joe Biden. He's done. I don't see it at this point. He's fourth place in Iowa. He's not going to get any better in New Hampshire. That so-called firewall in South Carolina, which the campaign's been touting for months, maybe a year on end, it's already dissipating. I think he's up by like 4 or 5 points in the most recent poll there. If he goes fourth place in Iowa, third or fourth in New Hampshire, he's probably not going to win Nevada because, again, it's a caucus state. Caucus state does not play well to his campaign apparatus. He's going to go 0 for 3 in the first 3. That firewall.
That's a Rudy Giuliani strategy.
That's exactly right. It's Giuliani in Florida.
And they're already saying he doesn't have a very good apparatus in Nevada. He doesn't have a good organization on the ground there, and he's not looking good right now.
Now, we obviously see Buttigieg with a little bit of momentum going into New Hampshire. Let's pretend for a second that's already played out. Buttigieg, gets this boost, and suddenly Buttigieg is the person that we're looking at running against Trump in the general. Josh, do you see that? Is that going to be a problem for Trump, do you think? Or do you think Trump could handle it heartily?
I do not think Buttigieg is a particularly scary general election opponent for Trump. I actually think Bernie Sanders, despite being as radical as he is a more formidable general election opponent than people.
Why is that?
Because Bernie Sanders and Trump have this weird crossover appeal, right? They're both kind of burn it all down, anti-establishment, countercultural in their own unique sense figures. And I think they actually probably appeal to a lot of these similar kind of Rust Belts, more anti-trade, anti-NAFTA style voters. Buttigieg, there's just so much material for Trump to work with there. I mean, he's so young, he's so inexperienced. I mean, a lot of people have these conspiracy theories that he's like a CIA agent. It's kind of sketchy. We don't really know exactly what he was doing. There's just like, he's too slick by half, but he's 37 years old? Yeah. Trump can torch him in a debate, I think.
He's the mediocre mayor of a town 1/7 the size of your average congressional district. I mean, it's not serious. I was telling somebody from Miami yesterday, I was making a reference in terms of like how big South Bend is compared to like some of the small municipality down there. And it's just really ridiculous. And I totally agree with Josh. Not only does Bernie Sanders have, I think, this strange crossover appeal, I also think he can activate people who otherwise don't vote. Just bring a lot of people out of the woodwork to show up to vote. So I think President Trump is in a very strong position heading into November, but it's going to be very interesting to see what Democrats do at the convention, because there's no clear front runner. I don't think that the powers that be are convinced that Buttigieg is strong, and they clearly do not like Bernie Sanders. So we may be going into a brokered convention.
Yeah. Pat, just to play devil's advocate, Josh, do you agree with Josh that Bernie would be a formidable candidate against Trump? Because just putting it out there, I agree with what you're saying, that they kind of have this same anti-establishment feel, but it's so hard to vote for someone like Bernie who wants this radical change when people's lives are good right now. You have the economy that Trump touted during the State of the Union. People are working. it seems so unlikely to me that people would say, yeah, let's change everything, let's burn it down, when it's working for the majority of people.
Me too. And especially since Bernie is a socialist, my hope is that this is still America, and we're not quite there yet. I mean, I know there's young people who are there that think socialism might be a great alternative to capitalism, but I think this shows the greatest difference you can possibly show going into an election. A guy who's overseen a great economy for 4 years and who is a hardcore capitalist and a socialist, curmudgeon, who's 78 years old. I mean, I think that's a great dichotomy that Trump could exploit. Whereas with Buttigieg, who I don't think is that strong either, and it seems like you don't go from South Bend, Indiana mayor to president of the United States. Although if there was a country where it can happen, it's here.
Yeah, you would also think you don't go from reality show host to president of the United States, and that happened.
But Buttigieg has one other thing going for him, and that's identity politics. Yeah. And you got to be a little bit careful with him because of what you say. And Trump isn't careful, and he could run into trouble there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, my concern with Buttigieg is his youth, actually, and I think he could definitely use that to his advantage. But as far as Bernie and socialism, I mean, like Josh and I and you as well, like we were born in an era where like the Cold War is like a distant memory. So most people of our generation,
You're assuming I wasn't born in
that era? That's very ageist.
Wow.
Well, we have no recollection of what socialism even is. They hear it as like some scary S word, but they don't exactly know what it means. They don't remember the bread lines in the former Soviet Union or the Eastern Bloc states or countries.
What it means.
And they're not being taught history.
They don't.
Yeah, and they're not learning it at school either. So when you call someone a socialist, they'll think, oh yeah, it's like the Norway Pavilion at Epcot. They're completely disconnected from it. So
it'll have to be the baby boomers who understand that and don't vote for Bernie Sanders. And I'm hopeful they still will.
The people have to be educated on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we go, just it's such a stark contrast in the week that Trump and the Republicans have had and the week that the Democrats have had. You had this debacle of a caucus. You had Nancy Pelosi ripping up the State of the Union address. You know, you have Trump delivering an amazing State of the Union. I don't think anyone at this table would disagree with me that it was one of, if not the best speech that he's ever done. And then you have him getting acquitted the very next day. Then, the day after that, the White House confirmed yesterday that top al-Qaeda leader Qassim al-Rimi was killed in Yemen in an airstrike at the direction of President Trump. I can't imagine it being a better week for the president. Josh?
You probably could not conjure up one if you tried. Literally, I mean, a poll after poll, it seems we're getting this week. I mean, Gallup has him a 49% approval rating. That's an all-time high for the Trump presidency. Americans are more optimistic about the state of the economy than they've been in literally, I think, 4.5 to 5 decades, which obviously plays into Pat's point very nicely about this stark contrast against a freaking socialist of all people. It seems to be going pretty well for the president right now. I kind of hope he doesn't mess it up. But, I mean, you know, Henry Olsen of the Washington Post had a column this week where he basically said, great State of the Union address, but if past is precedent and we're looking ahead, it tells us that Trump might find a way to mess it up. And you know what? Here's my take on this. In Henry's column, he talks about teleprompter Trump and Twitter Trump, and Henry's urging him to ditch the latter and only do the former. I don't quite agree with that. I actually think you need both.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
Do you agree?
Yeah. I think Trump, it's hard to advise him because everything he did in 2016 I thought was wrong and it was all right. And so he's still doing it now and it's working.
It sounds like, at least how I'm taking it, is the Twitter Trump is not bad enough to cast a shadow on all of the good that he's doing. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I have a focus group at home and one at my mom's house, right? These are two independent-minded women who are not really into politics, and I asked them, what do you guys think of the State of the Union? My wife was in tears. She loved it. My mom, who voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, I think she's going to be voting for President Trump now in 2020. So if you have an open mind and you go into this and you look at how great the economy is doing, And by the way, my own story is also an example of that.
Right.
So if you go into this with an open mind and you look at the data and you look at how like people are feeling, the fact that more people are working, the fact that salaries are going up for the working class at a faster rate than they're going up for the very wealthy. Those are all fantastic economic indicators, and I think any president with that record should be cruising toward re-election, and I think President Trump is in a very strong position.
Yeah. More on President Trump's position and strong indicators on how the 2020 elections are going to go. Also, AOC, she opened her mouth and said something stupid again. I know, we're all shocked. More on that when we come back. You know, some might say. More on putting President Trump's approval numbers in perspective. But first, want to tell you about our friends over at Brickhouse Nutrition and why we love their superfood Field of Greens. So a few years ago, the doctors and human performance experts, which I didn't realize was a thing, a human performance expert, well, it is, and they have them at Brickhouse, and they wanted to make sure to create a product that we could take every day, that was all natural and will make you healthier. And the result was Field of Greens, which in Pat's case is a really good thing because Pat doesn't eat, he doesn't ingest vegetables.
That's correct.
At all.
No.
Except Field of Greens. So Field of Greens has a full serving of real USDA certified organic fruits and vegetables, not vegetables. It boosts your immunity using antioxidants, prebiotics, probiotics, and it's not made from extracts. It is a real superfood. It reduces your risk of heart disease, memory loss, and it's a great source of vitamins, minerals, fiber, and other nutrients. So women, if you have a man in your life over here like Pat, who refuses to eat any vegetables, all they want is steak and potatoes, and you want them to live a very long life with you, you got to go to brickhouseblaze.com. You can get 15% off your first order right now with the offer code BLAZE. 1 scoop a day. My husband takes it too because he sometimes is bad about eating his vegetables. It tastes great. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
It tastes amazing. Right. Tastes great, and you get your vegetables. You get all the benefits of the vegetables without having to actually eat your broccoli. Go to brickhouseblaze.com. That is brickhouseblaze.com. Offer code BLAZE. Save you 15% on your first order. So just to put into perspective really quickly, just kind of some indicators on how the 2020 elections may go. I know, Josh, you mentioned Donald Trump's approval rating is at 49%. Everyone is happy about, how things are going, how their lives are going. All of these indicators are really good for him. But Josh Jordan on Twitter put into perspective what some other presidents' job approval ratings were at this point in their first term. Now, you've got Carter and Reagan at 58, 55.
Carter at 58%. That's unbelievable.
Crazy. I know, it's crazy. But HW had 47. W. Bush had 49. Obama had 45 at this point in his first term. So Trump is now ahead of Obama. He's tied with W and only 3 points behind Clinton with, of course, 9 months to go until the election. Obviously, all three of those won re-election. And I feel like Trump has the extra benefit of having the other side just complete morons who can't seem to get their acts together and do anything right. You got to be feeling good if you're President Trump right now.
I would think so. You outlined some of the things that went right for him this week, and one of those things was the Democrats going so wrong. I mean, they are in chaos right now. And they've got the head of the DNC talking about doing it all over again, recanvassing. I mean, with New Hampshire a couple of days away, they're just it's a complete mess for them.
Yeah, I mean, when your possible opponents are on one hand a communist, or on the other hand a small-town mayor who supports third trimester abortions, you're looking
unapologetically.
Unapologetically, you're looking at a great spot heading into 2020. If I was working on the Trump campaign, I'd be very excited right now.
Yeah, Josh, last word on this.
So historically, there are real advantages to being an incumbent president, of course. I mean, George H.W. Bush lost his re-election, Jimmy Carter lost. But before Jimmy Carter, you have to go back to Herbert Hoover, who was the last president who served one full term and lost. Gerald Ford obviously did not serve a full term, so he's a little asterisk there. But the point is, there are serious powers that attach to the incumbency. You have a massive bully pulpit. You have this huge sprawling apparatus. You get to jet around the country in Air Force One. I mean, they're technically using different funding, obviously, but you still get to use that fancy plane. by every objective metric, looking at the economy, his polling, Trump should win in a landslide right now. Obviously, he's probably not going to win in a landslide. It'll probably be closer because he's Trump and there are a lot of things about him that people don't like. But again, to go back to the previous segment, if he can just keep the Twitter stuff mildly under control and focus on the fact that Americans are pretty freaking happy right now about the state of their country, as they should be, I think he's in very good shape.
I kind of think he will win in a landslide.
Yeah.
Or
Really?
close to it. Yeah.
You also have to look at also like the kind of obstacles that President Trump is facing. So I wrote a story about this here at the Blaze. So from like September through December, the Media Research Center counted all the news stories about President Trump on primetime television. 96% of them were negative.
Yeah.
So he's like, look at his poll numbers.
Still got those poll numbers.
Yeah. Look at his poll numbers
amazing.
versus what he's facing. Yeah. And then the networks are going out of their way to downplay positive economic news. So he's up against like literally an avalanche. I don't know of any other president, certainly not in my lifetime, who could have withstood this.
Yeah. And I mean, when you look at the other side, not to go back and rehash Bernie and Buttigieg, but certainly Buttigieg doesn't find a way to win the African-American vote.
Oh, I think if Buttigieg is nominee, Trump could win 15% of the black vote. I actually really think that. And just cracking 10% would be a huge achievement for the modern Republican Party. But I think we're looking at 15% at least, honestly, if Buttigieg is the nominee.
And then you look at, Pat, you look at the approval ratings of President Trump's State of the Union speech, and you see that independents approved it by like 80%, I think.
Yeah. Even some Democrats liked it.
Yeah, 30% of Democrats, which is huge.
They gave it an overall C, which is amazing.
Right.
It would usually be an F, just a flat F. I didn't care. I don't like anything you said.
Right.
That was not the case this week.
And it also shows how out of touch Nancy Pelosi is, right?
It really does.
Yeah. When you saw that the entire Democratic side of the House, that they refused to stand up or they even refused to applaud, just positive economic news for minorities, right? Positive economic news for veterans. Record low poverty rates, right?
Women too.
Yeah, these are all things that are fantastic for the country, and they're not just like meaningless statistics. It means that like people's lives are a lot better, and I thought that was very striking. And I also think that it's funny, like my Democratic friends on Facebook, they were like squeening all over themselves over like the video of Pelosi ripping it. To most people, that seemed like repulsive.
Yeah, I agree. All right, back in a minute.
Huge miscalculation.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, coming up in overtime, an Ohio pastor threatens to sue the NFL because watching the halftime show put him at a risk of going to hell. Oh, yeah. Got a lot to get into there. Also, as promised, AOC. AOC was in a testimony, a hearing yesterday, and she wants you to know that pulling yourself up by your bootstraps is like a joke because it's physically impossible to do. Okay? Obviously, AOC knows that it's scientifically impossible to happen. So we've got that coming up in overtime. Also, I did a video for Sarah Gonzalez Unfiltered on that, which you can find on YouTube. All you got to do is search Sarah Gonzalez Unfiltered, subscribe. Obviously, everything on YouTube is free. I know I got someone who said, I really want to subscribe to your channel, but I don't have the extra funds to do so. We're in luck. YouTube is free. It's absolutely free to subscribe to YouTube, so you can do that. Also, I'm sure there are those of you who are like, ugh, Sarah, why are you so casual? It's Friday. Okay, first of all, don't judge me. Second of all, how can I not be casual when shop.blazemedia.com has such cool hats? Yeah, there it is, right there. The camo, I think it's called a dad hat, which is very sexist because I'm obviously not a dad. And I like to think it looks okay on me. But we've got so much more there. We've got Baby Lives Matter shirts. We've got some Pack Ray Unleashed shirts. You've got some funny shirts. What is the Turning the Frogs Gay shirt? Is that still on there?
That's still on there.
Okay, so
That's high energy.
it is high energy.
is.
We've got Chad Prather show merch. We've got Glenn Beck merch. We've also got News and Why It Matters merch, which, by the way, we've got a new mug design right here. Yeah, that's right. Very nifty mug design here. So make sure that you head to shop.blazemedia.com. By the way, before we go into overtime, special announcement, not next week, but the week after, You asked, and we are finally delivering. We will be doing a 1-hour news and why it matters every day, Monday through Friday. None of this 30 minutes nonsense. We are expanding to an hour. You're welcome. For those of you who are watching overtime, it starts next on BlazeTV.com.